On tonight's show, we have finance coach, speaker, and author, Cara Stevens.
And now for your host, KoolKard. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kickin It with KoolKard show. I am your host, KoolKard. Now that we have gotten past the election, we can get back to our normal lives, to our normal selves. I don't know what it looks like moving forward. I don't know who you guys voted for. It honestly doesn't matter. We just have to sustain and maintain and move forward and control what we can control. That's all I got to say about it. I don't speak politics. Just wanted to put that little 2 cents out there. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. You know I'm at every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, kicking it with someone cool. And tonight, I am definitely kicking it with someone cool. She is a finance coach. She is an educator. She's an author. She's a speaker. She's been featured in Forbes, Essence, Washington Post, Huffington, I think it is. I might be messing it all up, but she's been featured everywhere. We'll get into that, and I'll let her tell you all about it. But she has a book out. She is empowering women and their finances and getting them over the hurdle and pushing them through that fear. People have a fear of money, guys, and you might be one of them. So you might want to stick around and listen and get these jewels and get some encouragement and understand how to overcome it. I want to know how to overcome it, so I'm pretty sure you want to know how to overcome it. And let's just hear it from an educator, hear it from an expert. She goes by the name of Cara Stevens. She's hailing from Ghana. She's a New Yorker, but she's hailing from Ghana. She's joining in, and we're going to have a good time, a great conversation. I know this is going to be one for the ages, like all of them, though. Man, when we come and kick it, we really kick it and have a great conversation. So I cannot wait. All right, without further ado, let's jump into this. Let's kick it, y'all.
That's pretty dope. I'm like, maybe I should take a screenshot real quick though.
I'll send it to you. Don't worry. Welcome to the show, Cara. I really appreciate your time and you being here. I know you're coming hailing from Ghana, so I know it's a time difference. So thank you so much for taking your time out to join me on my show.
Oh, it's such an honor. I know this has been a long time coming, so I'm super excited that we finally made it.
Yes, we finally made it. Guys, we have been trying to orchestrate this interview for months, but we finally got it together. We are here. So thank you. Can't wait to dive in. I do like to pray before each conversation live on air. So are you okay with that?
Yes.
You're okay with that? Okay, so here's a twist though. Just follow me here. And, I don't ever want to force you to do anything you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you prayed?
I prayed this morning.
You did? Okay, so pray again for us today on air. How about that?
For the health of my father. Sure, let's bow our heads.
Yeah, you lead. Normally I do, but I'm doing something different these days. I'm stepping outside my box and letting you lead. Yeah, go ahead and guide us in prayer.
Best already when it comes to these things, but not a problem. Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we stand before you today in the midst of so much transition in our world and in the midst of so much chaos. We're asking for your guidance. We're asking for your embracing of our hearts and our souls and our minds as we navigate and find a new normal in this new way of living. I want to thank you, Lord, for making it possible for us to create space, safe ones for all of us that are feeling discouraged, for all of us that are feeling in need of guidance. I want to thank you, Lord, for making it possible for us to get up another day, to do another fight, to create community, to show love for the ones that we love, to show compassion for the ones that don't understand us, and to continue to live in the spirit of being with one another in this world that is going through a lot of things. In the name of Jesus, we pray.
Amen. Mm-hmm. Amen. Thank you, sister. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That felt good, didn't it?
It did.
Yes, I like to set the tone with that. Give him the glory. And you know, everybody doesn't worship the same God or whatever, have the same faith, but I know they could feel something. Feel that energy, y'all. Feel that energy. Feel the essence, the
Mhm.
spirit, right? So, hey, we're here to talk about your book. We're here to talk about what you're doing for these women in finance, with finances, about finances, pushing people through, getting them to a higher plateau in life, pushing them through their fears, their struggles, overcoming some things. But I like to humanize the conversation first. I want to know about Cara. I want to know your background, where you're from. I don't know. My audience doesn't know. Give us a little background, a little history on you. And then I want you to tell us why you chose to relocate from New York all the way to Ghana.
I think they're all kind of related. So I'll do
Okay.
the short version. So I'm a native New Yorker. I'm also a first generation American from Antigua. And for those of us that kind of cross two different cultures, there's a lot of opportunity to step out and find your own identity, because sometimes when you come from two different places, sometimes it feels like you come from no place.
Mm,
And that coupled with I was a former vice principal and a classroom teacher, so I love my community. I believe that education is a vehicle for social mobility, and by having being in my community and being an example for my children and my students, I wanted to not just teach them, I wanted to help them love themselves and build their self worth up so they could be able to stand confidently in a world that may not see them as worthy, unfortunately. But as long as my goal as an educator was to teach the curriculum, but to teach them the real curriculum, which is self awareness, self love, and even cultural awareness and cultural pride. And so that is connected to my decision to move to Ghana, because when I was in college, I studied in Ghana as an exchange student.
okay.
And it was one of the best experiences of my life, not because of anything in particular. It was the mundanity of the normalcy of being black and being accepted and belonging. Like your doctor was black, the people
Yeah.
that you saw fighting together were black. The shop lady was black. Like everybody was black, blacky black, without it being political. It was just like the sun coming up. So
Yeah.
you didn't have and so there's a level of comfort that comes with that, because it clears up space for you to focus on other things. You're not fighting to validate, I belong here. We already know that, so we can get to business. And I think
Right.
that is what I love. And so kept that experience in the back of my head, was an educator for 20 years, and I saw, became a teacher, became an administrator, vice principal, that things weren't changing in a way that made me feel secure about now being a mother and having a very chocolatey, beautiful daughter. Where was she going to be educated in a place that challenged her intellectually, but also loved her? Because we see a lot of students and children who go to academically rigorous, hostile places. So they spend many times of their 20s and 30s in therapy trying to make sense of their very vulnerable experiences. And I didn't want that for her. So when 2020 came and we had this whole racial reckoning, my husband and I were looking at each other. My husband is from Ghana. We're like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, man, I think we need to start having some conversations, because along the 16 years of being an educator, I was also starting the Frugal Feminista in 2013. And so the
Okay.
Frugal Feminista was growing to replace my income and exceeding my income. So I was like, we have an out. I can do work anywhere in the world. And he was a software developer. So it was like, let's start making some plans. So we made sure we aligned our finances to this goal of moving to Ghana. We had people in Ghana helping us find housing, which is a whole different beast, different story. We could talk about that at a different time.
Okay.
But we visited to make sure that we would be comfortable with some of the amenities that we had grown used to as Americans and the infrastructures. You can't overlook that.
Right.
So we started. We also, what kind of quality of life did we want to lead, and we started answering those questions very honestly, and then little by little aligning our finances, our financial goals. How much money do we want to have in an emergency fund? We want to eliminate whatever remaining debt. We weren't very debt heavy. We wanted to find a good school that met the needs I felt my daughter would need to thrive, not just academically but socially. I needed to feel like I can get my regular city girl thing, because I am a city girl. nails, cafes, massages. If those things weren't there, we had to think about it. So each visit went about 3 times in between maybe 2020 and 2023, just to
Mhm.
make sure each time I was like, I have a checklist of things I need to find in order for me to feel comfortable. So familiarity was very important to me. And then once we were able to establish that, we talked about infrastructure. Wi-Fi, since we're going to be online, we need Wi-Fi to be super duper strong
Mhm.
because infrastructure is not the same here as it is in the States. And so we had to bring our own infrastructure and be comfortable with paying for our own infrastructure. And then finally, it was just get some tickets, and pick a date. And then we go. And then we decided what would be our minimum amount of time just to get through the ups and downs because it is still culture shock. Even though we're Black, and my husband's Ghanaian. He hasn't been here for a long time. So there were certain things we're like, I don't know, the first couple of months. I'm just being honest. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
telling my husband, I was like, I love you. I love everything about you, but I will meet you at the airport. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, bring the child and bring yourself. Do you know what I mean? Leave everything behind. But then we had to say, how much time do we want to give it a chance?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes people leave too soon. And so it's almost a year and a half later, and we're still here through the ups and the downs. And I'm very grateful financially and emotionally for my family. I think it's made us have a softer life, as they say. My daughter doesn't want for anything. And I feel like I got to heal a generation emotionally and financially with this move. So my daughter doesn't have to experience some of the things I had to experience growing up in the 80s and 90s in New York. It was brutal.
Yeah, man, that is beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. I hear,
Yeah.
I mean, they advertise it like come to Ghana, like it's welcoming and inviting us Americans to
Yeah.
come over there, and bring the finances with us, of course, bring the
Yeah.
businesses with the, to enrich the community and the
Yeah.
economy there. What does it look like though, as far as like you know the paperwork and all that type of stuff? What does it take to be able to move over there? Like, how are you legally able to move over there? How is that done, so some people would know?
So I have legal residence right now through my husband. You
Okay.
have to apply for it. And I think it's after 6 years you can apply for citizenship. But the first part is that you get to come to Ghana and they stamp your passport either with like 60 or 90 days that you just get to stay. And
Hmm.
then in that time, you can go to the embassy. There's an American embassy that's very much central in Accra, and then kind of speak to a representative about what it takes to establish residency here, and then they'll send you to the proper channels in with respect to the Ghana elements in order for you to get what needs to be done. And I must say though, certain things that we would be like, what are you doing in New York or in America, kind of fly here. So it's not uncommon that you grease somebody's palm. Not saying I did it, you're not put me on camera to say that, but it's not uncommon to expedite your application
Yeah.
that will dashes happen here and there. And that's how like that's how you see things happen. And so just letting you know that you may be clutching your pearls in some ways for, it's a trade-off.
Right.
You want a black place, but here's some of the things that happen in ways that you may not be accustomed to. So you
Right.
can't
Right.
have always that way. But
Okay.
the process is pretty seamless in terms of, and what people sometimes do is their time expires and they pay a small fee and they just stay. You know,
Wait,
that happens.
like stay forever or an extended stay?
They extend the stay, and then every time you have to say go back to the states, and they check your passport because they go through your passport, they'll see that you have stayed overstayed. You
Hmm.
have to pay a small fee, and then you have to get a new stamp, and then that extends it. You also have to apply if you're American for a visa too, so you can have visas that allow you to travel back and forth for at least 5 years.
Hmm.
And with my residency, I have a residency for a year, so I have to reapply soon in 2025.
Does the U.S. have anything to say about that when you pay that small fee to stay an extended stay and keep extending that? Like, does the U.S. have anything to say about that? Do they come looking for
I mean,
you
they
or?
haven't done anything to me. I mean, when I come, because I've come back to the States at least 4 times throughout the year for work.
Okay.
And each time I come, they're like, welcome home. I'm like, thanks.
Uh,
They were, because I have a visa too that allows me to travel between Ghana and the US for a certain amount of time. And there's also residency in my passport. So the two can totally exist because I'm still I guess maybe when I create an application for citizenship or think about what it means to be a citizenship, what are the trade-offs, then maybe that is something. But
Right.
at this point, I don't know.
Well, what about somebody who is just going over there now to kind of like
Yeah.
survey the land, survey the economy, see if they want to make that move, and they stay there for those 90 days, and then they grease somebody's hand pockets
Mhm.
to extend.
Right.
Will the
Right.
U.S. say anything to them when they come back? Like, oh, why were you gone this long? Like, do you think they would like drag them into an
No,
office with
no,
guns?
because I think in the greasing is they create another stamp,
Okay,
and
got
so
you.
your time is extended. Yeah, so it's
Okay,
all the greasing is like in the line. So
okay,
depending on who's there, they'd be like, "Please, madam, you have to come over here," and then and you may either go through them, and just get it
right,
stamped, or you may have to go through another longer thing and still get it stamped. So
got you.
it's one of those things. Is either do it faster, and you look at it in a kind of way, or you do it a longer way, and still you pay.
Okay. All right, cool.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
for now, you feel as though you've made the right decision. You're adjusting to the culture shock, and you're there for now, right?
Yeah, I think for me, I realized that a couple things. One, I have a lot of interesting observations that you can definitely be an expat or a black immigrant and never really interact with Ghanaians in your day to day life, other than maybe if you hire them because
Really?
of the circles that you would run in. Yeah. So it's easy to just be around. There's a whole community in this place called Pram Pram, which
Mm-hmm.
is largely African American, like Detroit, Washington D.C., like
Really?
OGs from the 70s, ex Black Panthers that were just like, I'm out,
Wow.
and they built their own community. So it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways when one outside like the racial politics in the US, and we pit black against white, but then people can also be not tribal but community oriented. The more familiar you are, the closer you want to become, especially if you're in a place that's not your own.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, I've heard, unfortunately, in these spaces that African Americans sometimes talk about Ghanaians in the same way white people talk about black people. So you
Uh,
see that there's
yeah,
one, but then two, some Ghanaians, not all, may not see African Americans as legitimate Africans.
yeah,
And that's a reality too.
yeah,
But here's my reality. I don't care what you think. Do you know what I mean? My reality is a couple of things. One, I'm a Pan African, and Kwame Nkrumah said, "You do not have to be born in Africa to be an African." Malcolm X says, "What happens when you put kittens in the oven? You don't get biscuits, right?
right,
When you're right, like you're always going to be what you are,
right.
right?" And so I may not be Ghanaian, but I am of African descent, and that is enough. And I think the third thing too is the stereotypes about each group about each other. And then what happens when I think African Americans come and then experience a level of privilege that they normally are denied in the US? It's a disarming feeling because now that everybody's black, there's maybe not that underdog feeling of to fight against something.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's your questions around identity and race, they become moot here because everyone is black, so there has to be other ways that people distinguish themselves, and that's an interesting place for a lot of people to rest, who've been very race conscious for the reality of being African American. And the final thing I'll say about that is that I've met Ghanaians whose parents are Ghanaian but they've never lived in Ghana, lose contact and lose connection with Ghana in one generation. So
mm,
I'm like, well, if you could lose contact in one generation, that also means you can regain contact in one generation and connection. And so
yep.
for African Americans who feel like it's been 400 years, I'm like, sis, it just takes 6 months. You know what I mean? Like, it just takes 6 months.
Right.
It really does. Like, if I can see someone whose parents are Ghanaian lose a connection, that means that it's not the 400 years that we think we so far away from Africa. It could happen in one generation. And like I said, the reverse can happen then. So if you learn how to speak tree or pigeon, or, kind of get your way around, you get your little spots, you make your little friends, that's what living in Ghana is about. It's not this like, no one's going to be beating drums and like, asking you to have some ceremony when you come. You're just going to be like, okay, you black, you get it all. You get the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And I think that is the reality of living in a black place, is that you just like one of us. You know what I mean? You probably have more money, so you can appreciate that privilege. But yeah, I think that has been my experiences, the normalcy of just living in a place that is developing and going with the flow with it, and then loving. I can get coconut water. I can see the same people. It's a small place. The city is not as crowded as New York, and those are the things that I love. So I think you have to figure out, what do you love about it or not love, and then make a decision from there. And the other piece too is that I realized too that I need both New York and Accra to feel like myself. So this idea that you have to leave America and that's the ultimate closing of the door, and then Ghana is going to answer all your problems and solve all your issues, is not realistic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a city girl from New York. That's a
Right.
particular flavor. And
Right.
so I miss flavor sometimes. And for me to deny it doesn't make sense, because it's like saying that the only way that you can truly love Ghana is if you hate America or you hate where you come from. And that's not true either.
Yeah. So that's why you say you fly back and forth. You gotta go in and get a taste of New York, get it back in you. Yeah. So okay, a couple questions out of that. We're not gonna make the whole interview about Ghana, but I got questions though, because I got questions, and I'm pretty sure other people got questions, because they are actually promoting moving to Ghana. I've seen a commercial about moving to Ghana. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's a thing. So that's why I'm asking all these questions. How strong is the American dollar out there, and what's crime like?
Okay. So, side note, we can make this all about Ghana, and then no, I don't mind at all. You need to feel free, and maybe this is what we're supposed to talk about, so I'm fine with that.
No, we're gonna talk about you. We're gonna talk about what you do too, but we're gonna go.
This is all part of it. If I didn't get my relationship with money, if I didn't get my money right, if I didn't align my spending to my values, I would have never had the money, which it cost a lot of money in the way that we wanted to live, to move to Ghana.
Okay.
Right? And we didn't want to be an influencer trying to run down brands. We wanted to have like steady streams of income before we left. So here we are. So to answer your question, so when we first got here in 2023, $1 was 10 CDs. And then now $1 is 16 and a half CDs. So inflation is real.
Wow. Okay.
And so for the average, say, American who gets paid in dollars, it benefits them. Even if the prices rise in response to inflation, it's not going to overpower the exchange rate.
Okay.
Right? So if you wanted to say, and when people ask, well, how much does it cost? Like, what's a typical way to live in Ghana? Like, how much would it cost to comfortably live in Ghana? So, well, what kind of life were you living in America? That's the question. Because if you were a jet setter, go-getter, and you like had to have all the things, it's easy, even though the currency weighs in your favor, for you to spend more and run out of money because you think the currency is in your favor, the exchange rate is in your favor. So you can run in circles where you can get comparable American prices. There are lots of restaurants and spas and hotels and events that could be like, at this point, say 500 CDs, which is probably like $30 or $40 now. Too much of that's going to, depending on how much income you're bringing in, that is going to add up to something sizable compared to what you may be doing in the US. But for some people who have a simple life, you could definitely live off of $20,000 US a year.
$20,000?
Yeah, let's think about it, right?
Wow.
So, I'm not including housing. Housing may be more. So let's just say $35,000, right?
Okay.
Because, so I can say $35,000. So if we bought our car, Our car, I traded in my car from the US. I had a Toyota RAV4, 2018, and had like less than 20,000 miles. I wasn't much of a driver. And I think I got 20,000 or $21,000 for it. I was able to buy a new car. I think it's a Toyota here for $17,000, right?
Right.
I was able to, we're able to have a driver. Our driver is about, he's a full-time driver. He works Monday through Saturday around 6 to 7 p.m. And for him, it's about maybe $200 a month for him to work full time, right? And you
Uh,
don't have to have a driver. You can get your own driver, right?
right.
Um, Gas is about, I think, 400 CDs if you do, so 400, so I can't do the numbers in my head, but if we just say 800 is $50 because I said it's the 16 to 1, then that's about $25, um, $25 every 2 weeks for gas, right?
Okay.
Between 400 CDs and 500 CDs. If you get a big old truck, it's bigger. So I can go on and on in the details. We bought a home. Our mortgage in US, and the interest rates in Ghana for lending are a lot higher than the US. So I can say that. So business loans, you see things like 25, 35%, home
Jeez.
loans 10 to 15%. Yep. Yep. So those are like the negatives. But in terms of housing too, our mortgage is about, and we have a big home. We have and we had it all gutted and remodeled. We have about 4 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, a library, and just a really nice kind of open space. And our mortgage is about, and the cost of it, just the cost of the home was about $120,000,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
Right, exactly. And so we put a down payment, and this is connected to my book. It was $40,000. I'm giving you guys all the tea. $40,000 from the Frugal Feminista as my side hustle. So I was making 6 figures with the Frugal Feminista as a side hustle, and use that money to buy an asset, right? And now this asset is allowing us to live in Ghana. We're paying it down. I think our mortgage is, we have like 2 more years on the mortgage of $2,000. And what we're also doing is our place in New York, we're subletting. So that money is helping us pay down our mortgage here.
Yeah.
So we're being thoughtful and intentional about what we're doing. So all that to say is that if you are able to, so you have food, the big things. So food, it depends. So we have things called markets here, right? So the markets are 100%, almost 100% women driven. Those that cut up the meat, like the goat and like the cow and things like that. Those like where the men are the butchers.
Mhm.
But I can honestly do a haul of tomatoes, onions, lemons, like your basic good veggies for less than $20, right? Less than $20. And then they like the big box supermarkets where you can get like your familiar American and European products, which cost more.
Yeah.
But even in my last visit to the supermarket, I think I paid 700 CDs, which is about less than $50 now that the exchange rate is 1 to 16, right? So you come and you can modify what you want to do, because you can definitely get a meal like beans and plantain for like a big thing that can last you 3 meals or 3 days if you wanted to do it for one meal for 25 CDs, which is what, $2 or $3. But if
Jeez.
you want to go, so by, and also I have my little particular, like I said, I'm a city girl. I have my desire for my lattes,
Yeah.
my latte, and my Earl Grey tea. My latte is 35 CDs. That's still $2 to $3, and this is like the equivalent of Starbucks, like, and they're delish. You know what I mean? So you can those things. I'm just giving you a sense, and I go to the spa, my manicure. So for the ladies that are listening, I'm talking about, you know how they're like in sometimes in Atlanta, New York, they don't even soak your feet for a really long time. I'm talking
Yeah.
about an hour and a half, 2 hours, 150 CDs, right? So
And
that is less than $11, $12, and your feet come out feeling great. So I'm just saying, like, if you come, you spend some time experiencing what you want to experience, create the budget, then you have to multiply it times 12, right?
yeah.
To see how much it's going to cost you. And then housing, the only thing about housing is there are a lot of housing scams, so you need to be careful and find a reputable person. But also when it comes to housing, you have to pay sometimes a year in advance for your rent, which
Mm,
is very the opposite in the States. And
yeah.
the thing about the States between here and the States is that it's not debt, it's not moved by debt. Like we use credit cards and things to purchase. So like when your electricity goes out, you got to tap it back up. It's not like, it's not you pay for what you pay for what you use versus the US. It's like every month you're a month behind. You have to pay for last month. It is
Okay.
not like that. You pay it forward. In the
Okay.
US, you have to pay for what you did before. So we could probably be in a conversation right now. My lights go out because I ain't pay. I got to get $50 on it or something like that. You know what I
Oh,
mean? So
gotcha. Yeah.
it's like,
So it's no credit.
mhm,
They ain't giving you credit.
no,
They're not gonna lend
right.
it
It's
to
like,
you and then let you be in the arrears and be like, you owe us
right,
money.
right.
Wow. Okay. I did
They
hear
look
that
for the
though.
yeah. It's
I
a
did.
cash. It's a very much cash driven society versus us as credit. Like we use our card a lot. No, if you don't have the cash, you don't have it.
Yeah.
Um, and you wait to get it.
Okay. And I would say that, like, okay, that's probably why in some areas it can be very impoverished because if you don't have it, you don't have it. You can't lend it.
Right.
Nobody's gonna lend it to you and then wait for you to pay them
Right.
back. It's like you don't have it, you don't have it. So
I
I
think it's
get
a
that.
little bit different. I think like in the what I've noticed here is what we make up for in infrastructure. Like we go to a website. People are the infrastructure here. So you want to go Google something, give me a list of five? No, you go to someone's auntie and uncle. Sir, do you know somebody that could? Oh, let me find and ask somebody. And then you get like three people that can do it for you because they've been vetted.
Yeah.
One of the
Okay.
ways that I was able to do an education conference already in Ghana within a year is because I was invited to somebody's house, and then the CEO of the school was there. We got to chat, and she's like, "Oh, I like you. Do you want to do a conference?" And I was like, "Sure." I'm not doing anything that day. So I think the opportunities for those kind of infrastructural things that go by word of mouth also gave me insight into what perhaps white privilege or what privilege looks like in the United States. Because a lot of us are still meritocracy based. But
Mm-hmm.
this is very relational, which is for the good and for the bad. So if you get
Yeah.
into the right circles, things can happen. If you can't get into the circles, things may not be able to happen. But everybody has a circle in some kind of way,
Right.
even within your socioeconomic group.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And like you said, that is a taste of what the white society does here in
Yeah,
America. It's like, oh, you want to come and speak at the university? We'll pay you this just because you had
yeah,
a quick conversation. But you got people
right,
beating down the doors, submitting resumes, showing their accolades, and don't even get a look, don't even get a glance.
right.
Yeah,
Well, I actually had to get paid for that, so that's the other thing. But that's okay because, but just to give you the context, yes, there are a lot of deals happening between people that people know, and
right.
that's why I was talking about the humanizing parts of it. It's just like they're people, and when you remove race, it just becomes status and class, and that becomes a huge conversation and eye-opening thing about how am I contributing to
Yeah,
things or how am I helping things. So I make sure I employ people. I pay them more than the average wage, things like that.
yeah.
And I try to pay for their children to go to school so I can also close their generational gap. So I
Mhm.
do things in the ways that
Beautiful.
I can. Right.
Yeah. But you did get paid because the opportunity is the payment and more
I
business
love that.
comes
I love that.
because
Yeah. I mean, build a
because
relationship. Yeah.
exactly because people out here won't even get that opportunity,
Right.
because that opportunity is going to generate more business and there's
Right.
the income. So
Right.
the money didn't matter in that opportunity, but the opportunity was the payment for sure.
Right. Right.
And we
Right.
don't even get the opportunity a lot of times. So,
Right. Yeah, and
yeah.
I feel here that I know we're trying to move on, but it just to kind of underscore there's an African American association in Ghana. There's are like there's a huge. There's also important to understand. There's a huge African American legacy in Ghana that many of us aren't aware of. Like W.E.B. Du Bois renounced his American citizenship and died in Ghana. A huge thing of Malcolm X coming to Ghana to I think he to speak with Nkrumah in the '60s to talk about liberation. Like we started in terms of race relations, then it became a human rights conversation around what's happening to Black people all over the world. And so African Americans, we have always been key players in a lot of these conversations, even though African Americans themselves in the States don't even see how dope they are. Maybe in terms of fields of culture and, vibe, but they don't understand like how people, our intellectual property has been exported to the world and has inspired movements, and that
We
there are homes
we've
for
shaped the
us.
world, man. We've shaped the
Right,
world
right.
with
And to
little
say that this is
with
your
little in
home.
return, to be honest with
Yeah,
you, in the
yeah,
bigger
but I
scheme
also
of
think
things.
too, yeah, but a lot of us don't know ourselves outside our experience with race in America. If we can see what it's like just to be regular black and all the foolishness and beauty that comes with it, you have a new level of confidence and a new level of ease.
Yeah, because we've grown up not being able to not ever know racism
Right,
or feel that
right,
pressure of being
right,
watched, being
right,
underserved, being
right,
excluded. You know what I'm saying? Like not included.
right,
All that. Like it's a
right.
thing. It's a daily pressure. It's a daily struggle that we live with. That we know it's there. That people try to ignore and say it's not there. Like you know. So now I get it. I get it. I would love. I want to visit. I'm gonna visit one day. I would love
You
to visit.
gotta visit, and we gotta do tea someplace. You know what I'm
For
saying? Like
sure.
at one of these places. Yes,
I will hit you up. I will
yes,
definitely contact you once I touch before I touch down. Like, hey, I'm coming.
sure.
Show me the ropes, whatever. I
Yeah,
bring my family because I always, me and my family, we love to travel. So wherever we go, we bring the kids. Sometimes if it's like anniversary or whatever, but we
right,
love
right,
to bring the kids, expose them to different cultures, take those trips, man. Create the memories. I don't,
right,
I'm not big on stuff. I like my things. I like gadgets, things like
right,
that. Electronics and all that. But phones, I like that. I like what I like. But I love to
right,
travel. We love to travel, make memories, and experience new cultures and go into the
right,
indigenous places and eat with the common folks and eat their food.
right,
I don't want to do the
right,
touristy stuff. Show me how you're
right,
living. That's what we're
right,
about.
right,
So,
right. For
yeah,
sure, for sure.
definitely on the list. Definitely on the
Yeah,
list.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So I would definitely hit you up before I get out there. I would love to do that. Um,
Yes.
so let's talk about your
Mhm.
company. Let's talk
Yes.
about your book. So you
Yes.
said you started it in 2013, and then you
Hmm.
just dropped that nugget of you are making over six figures with your business. You replaced your income with the schooling. Like, what has that growth that looked like? Like, what made you jump into that anyway? Like, you were the principal, right? So what made
I
you step
was
out and
a teacher
say,
first. So I was in student loan debt. I graduated in 2001, and I had no intention of paying my student loans back. I would ignore the bills. I had credit card debt, and I just thought if I ghosted them, they would get the hint and be like, "Oh, she don't pay, so we should stop sending her these letters." But the balances kept on going up because of late fees and
Mhm.
capitalization.
Yep.
And my mom, I remember opening up a bill, and I was really entitled and indignant, thinking, why they keep on like sending me these things, mom? Don't they know I'm not going to pay it back? She's like, you're kidding me, right? You have to pay these people their money back. And I was like, wow, really? Because I did not know. And so I went to the library and found a book on personal finances. Ironically, I went to the librarian. I was like, you got books about money? She was like, yeah, that section over there. And I never knew there was a section called personal finance. And Glenda Bridgeforth's book, Girl, Get Your Money Right, was like the first time I had ever been introduced to the idea of debt and paying it back and a black woman's perspective. And this is when I had graduated from college, but it was 9/11, and especially in New York, there was a lot of chaos going on. I couldn't really find a job, so I had a part-time job here, a couple hours there, and it was really just a difficult time in my life where I didn't I felt I was cheated of the life that I had seen on a different world. I'm not sure if you remember
Mhm.
different world. I wanted like my Dwayne, I wanted like the whole thing. I wanted the house, I wanted the
Yeah.
whole stuff. I was like jobless. I think I might have just broken up with my boyfriend before we graduated. I was a mess. I was like, where is my stuff? But I
Right.
had this debt. So I went on this journey toward trying to figure it out. And I started a blog spot back in the day. And by that time, a couple years had passed, called Girl Get Your Life Together as a nod to that book, and share with my girlfriends. Listen, did you know you had to pay back your student loans? Because I didn't, but here's what I learned. Did you know you had to like build your credit? I didn't know. So here's how I'm doing it. And so
Mhm.
I shared that with them. And they're like, girl, I love this. And I started to share, what it meant to be single in your 20s and looking for love and then still having to do with your finances. I just kind of shared my experience. And then that eventually morphed into Fabulous and Frugal, which was like the next version of that blog spot. And then I had a cease and desist letter early on in my business because I had taken the name of another site called Fabulous and Frugal and changed the name of it, not really realizing there were any legal implications, and
Right.
had to change the name quickly. And then I was brainstorming with my mom. It's like, what would be a good name? I'm not that fabulous in terms of hair, nails, all those things. I like those things, but I'm not one of those girls. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm pretty much a feminist. And it sounded good. So Frugal Feminista. And I started to talk about encouraging women, money, and things like that. And then I trademarked that, right? And so it's mine.
Mhm.
And so from there, over the years, larger blogs started to like my content, and then I really found my voice when I realized that what I really felt the most passionate about when talking about money was our relationship with money, because of all the childhood trauma I had seen growing up with a single mom, all
Mm.
the issues I had around scarcity and fear, and hearing the creditors call and having to lie. It was all the types of things that is the common
Yeah.
experience for a lot of Black kids, but realizing how is that impacting my adult finances? How is that impacting my belief system and what I think I could do? How is that impacting my saving habits, my spending habits, my investing habits, or even how I talk to a potential partner about money
Right.
because of their different belief systems around money? And so I started to get the relationship and financial healing as a key component of personal finances that is often overlooked in so many places, but especially our community. But then, especially because I'm a woman, coming from my perspective, how powerful and how important it was for me to heal in general, and then seeing how my relationship with money was definitely a symptom of other issues of trauma that I wasn't dealing with. And then by the process of overall healing, I was able to improve my relationship with money, and then be able to improve my relationship with faith and trust and belief in the things that I want, and having more overall confidence and more overall discipline around my finances. And so that is how the business started, and where it is now. It's definitely rooted in how do I help, I say women, but I help anybody heal
Mhm.
their relationship with money, and in particular get out of debt. Because once you get out of that debt, you already increase your wealth by reducing your liabilities, and
And
then that
and you
money.
feel
Right.
and you feel so alleviated. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you feel
No, it
so
does.
alleviated. Oh my God, you don't understand. People really don't understand how much of a burden, how much stress it really puts over your life. And you think about it every day. You think you don't, but you do, because it dictates how you move, the decisions you
Right.
make, what you feel you can do, what you feel that you're able to do, what you're capable of doing. Like, once that's lifted, oh my God, it's like taking blinders off.
Right. You have so many other opportunities. And I
Yeah.
think that, so, I mean, that's pretty much the Frugal Feminista. So I've written books about this concept of healing your relationship with money.
Yep.
And as a teacher with a teacher background, I created little lessons for you to learn and then apply. Because application is the most important part of learning. If you're just learning and just consuming, and you're not actually producing and moving forward, then it's not a loss, but you're not activating your potential as quickly as you can until you do the work.
Yeah. Just the simple things of just allowing and knowing how to make the money work for you. So many people are not taught just that simple aspect of money. Money's a tool. Make it work
Right.
for you, not just spending
Right.
it to give you some things that are going to depreciate, and then you're going to have
Right.
the eagerness to want more, and then you're going to
Right.
go out and get a credit card and spend more than
Right.
what you have to get more
Right.
stuff that's not going to mean
Right.
anything in 2 months. It's just
Right.
it's a vicious cycle. And I want to
Yeah.
say something about this. You said, like, when you were a kid, creditors calling. I think that was the first time as a kid we were ever introduced to that, because your parent
Mm.
would be like, pick up the phone, baby, and tell them I'm not here.
Right.
And then, of
Right.
course,
Right.
the
Right.
creditors like, well, this is such and such and such and such, and we're
Right.
calling about an overdue balance, and da da da
Right.
da. That's like the first initiation right there of that trauma. And it's like,
Yeah.
now it's in your brain, like, oh my God, I got to duck them. So when I spend
Right.
stuff, and I gotta duck them. I'm not gonna pay them back. My mom's not
Right.
paying them back. So, but I'm gonna spend, but I'm gonna duck
Right.
them, right?
The messages, exactly. No, and even back to the point of like, why do some members of our community or just any community who may feel maybe disempowered, why do they spend on
Yeah,
things that make them look wealthy or look or feel important? And I'm not justifying it. I'm just trying to explain the mindset and how can
yeah.
we take that mindset without and help them unpack what is it that you're actually looking for?
Hmm.
What are you actually looking for in this purchase of this thing? What feeling are you trying to recreate in the purchase or in the consumption of this thing?
I think a lot of times, and I'm speaking from personal experience too, it's
Mhm.
like you see people of success, you see people doing things and they're successful, and but you don't know how they're doing it, and you're so
Right,
uneducated about it, but you want that so badly, so you'll go and overspend on a credit card to look the part, but you're still
right,
lacking education, so you're never going to get there, and it's just a cycle. You're
right.
always just looking the part.
Yeah,
People can ask
yeah.
you, "Oh, you look nice. What do you do?" And all you can
Right,
say is a lie, or tell them the
right,
truth, or I'm just well
right.
dressed. I like to, put my stuff on like this, but you're still
Right.
lacking the education. And that's where the disconnect is because we weren't taught that in school.
Yeah,
Parents didn't teach it because they didn't know it,
right.
But, and that's what I wanted to ask you too. I want to double back to you being an educator, like, and you said you saw it from the highest level. Why is it, and is it ever like brought up in like these teacher meetings or faculty meetings of should we implement financial education into the
Yeah.
school system? Like what's going on with that and why is it not being done? Well, we know why it's not being done, but I just want your perspective on that.
Well, I think there are a couple of laws that are happening now that middle school and high school students are required by law, depending on state, it's state level, to receive financial literacy education. So I know there's a law in Jersey. I know there's a lot happening in New York, which is the largest public school system in the US, where there are initiatives to support bringing uh, experts in to teach. The reason it probably can't be taught at the classroom level by teachers oftentimes is because, and this is so interesting as an educator, that depending on the state that you're in and the focus of the school, the curriculum is set and the pacing calendar is set. And so if it's not done ahead of time or there's no way to integrate it, they
Hmm.
have to make choices about what's the most important thing in order to get ready for testing. So if
Gotcha.
testing is running the majority of the why and the priorities for a school or a school system, they may say all other things, including the arts, including science, including something as important as financial literacy, they take a back seat. And so now I think there's a new, depending on who the chancellor is in terms of education, what they bring down from if there's a state mandate to do so, then they will push it down to the school level to say these are the kind of things that have to happen. But oftentimes they say this is what has to happen, but the schools have the autonomy to decide how it happens. And
Hmm.
so for a principal that is very passionate and educated and understanding about the importance of it, they'll make space for it and do the
Okay.
trainings and things like that. If you have other principals that are mediocre and just don't have a desire, and especially if you have at school leaders who may not have much in common with the communities that they're teaching and leading, you may also find that they do the bare minimum. So it's just a hodgepodge of a lot of different things there. So that would be my gut response to that.
I got an idea, and
Mhm.
I may be wrong in my thinking, but here's my idea. So there's
Okay.
all this talk, political talk about removing, slavery, um,
Right. Critical race
African
theory.
American histories, right?
Yeah.
African American history, slavery, all that out of the education system. So if you remove that, then replace it with financial literacy, so we can create a new history moving forward, and not be
Mhm.
uneducated about how to take care of our families and create the
Mhm.
generational wealth that everybody's talking about. How about you do that? Because you got the internet now. These kids can get online and learn about slavery. We can teach our
Right.
kids about the slavery. We could do that. We could tell
Right.
you about the hard times and the struggles in the history. So if you want to
Right.
remove that from the education system and put financial literacy in there, something that we're lacking, something that a lot of our parents might not even know to teach, but we could tell you about the slavery part, and you can get online and learn, right? So put the
Mhm.
financial literacy in schools if you're gonna take that out.
I think that I don't think that will happen. I know. I think
Oh,
I think your
it's
idea.
not gonna happen. I'm just
Yeah. you're just kind of brainstorming. Yeah, I
Wishful
think
thinking.
that I think it depends on, again, what people think the role of education is for certain groups and communities, and also what parents believe is their role in being an advocate for, and also a checks and balance for the schools. Because in some places, some immigrant communities have a deference to systems like the educational system and may not fight things that they may feel are out of bounds for them to even question. Some are ignorant, some feel there's a deference. Some feel that it's the school's responsibility to educate their children, and so they have more of a hands off approach. So there are a
Yeah,
lot of reasons there that sometimes you get what you get because of what you have.
yeah,
And sometimes only one person or two people that galvanize that can actually change, but sometimes that may not be sustainable. Once maybe they do it for their kid, they're the PTA president, and then once their kid graduates and there's no, you know, the passing of the torch, you may see that fire and those initiatives die down with it. It's very interesting that
yeah.
way.
I think that you said people who feel like they have a hands-off approach because the education system should educate their
Mm-hmm.
children. I'm kind of like in between that. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be involved enough to know if my child's struggling, if there's a disconnect between the teaching, the teacher, and what my child is learning and that disability or whatever. So I need to be there and know. I need to be involved enough to know that if there's a struggle, but I also want some independence for my child as well. Learn how to structure your work, your workload, push through, fight through them
Mm-hmm.
hard times where you're struggling with something.
Right.
If you need me, I'm here. Let me know, or I can get
Right.
involved or whatever. But so I'm kind of like in the middle of that. But I do understand, and that's why some kids do fall by the wayside because you have these parents who are just completely disconnected, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
you go to school, you learn there, but the kid's not learning because it's a disconnect between the teacher and the student, and it happens a lot. I just heard
Right.
a story the other day where a kid's struggling, lashing out, having all these behavioral problems because of the teaching, the way he's being taught, the way he's being spoken to, so on and so
Right.
forth. So there's issues there, and the parent doesn't know. Of course, they're probably calling, but then the parent is like, "Well, you deal with it. He's in school. You deal with it. What's
Right.
going on, right?" And they'll come home, talk
Right.
to the child, and the child will say, "Well, I just don't like it. It's stupid. I don't like the teacher." And you're
Right.
gonna take that as face value, right? Because not gonna say all kids, but a lot of kids will just be like, "I hate school. I don't like my
Right.
teacher." Well, why?
Right.
And you're not
Right.
understanding that the teacher, there's a lack of whatever with the
Right.
teacher. Yeah, and
Right.
maybe the teacher's
Yeah.
biased,
Expertise.
racist, whatever. You never know what's going on.
Yeah, lack of expertise, lack
Exactly.
of classroom management, lack of, tools and pedagogical tools to engage a student.
Right.
Yeah, it's complicated, and hence, like, not to go back to Ghana, but just to say, like, one of the things I wanted to do was to remove my daughter from a system that I'm not sure. It was a crapshoot. What
Yeah.
will we get by the end? So,
Yeah.
and not that God is perfect, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I have more time to actually be present. I also think I have more influence, just based on my educational level, to make suggestions or to call things out that I don't think make sense for students like my daughter and students like her. So I try and advocate for other students as well.
Okay. Now let's talk about your book. You did mention your book, Heal Your Relationship with Money. First and
Yes.
foremost, talk about the book and then tell us a couple of ways that you can work on healing your relationship with money, getting over that fear of spending, because we do come from that background where it's like, I don't have it, so when I do get it, I'm gonna spend it on what I like. I'm not gonna invest it, and I'm gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna be scared to invest and do the things that I know that can get
Yeah.
me to a different plateau. But you're scared of
Yeah.
losing what you got because you haven't had
Right.
it, right? So talk about that a
Yeah.
little bit.
So quickly, the healing relationship with money is really about understanding what your money why is. It's about understanding some of the past financial dysfunction that you've inherited from your family, and finding ways to actually find your financial voice. And when I talk about finding your financial voice, I talk about doing it in a couple of steps. Step one is to identify what were some of the money messages that you were taught growing up, whether explicitly or through example. We both talked about the phone calls, the incessant ringing, the lying, the hiding, the dodging. So what message was that, oh, you have to hide and lie about money because people out here trying to get it.
Yep.
And I know, and rather than another example would be like, call them, be honest, create a payment plan, and move on with your life. That's
Yeah.
another example of how it could be. Growing up, like I said, my mom was a single mom and she had a very difficult relationship with my dad. And when he left us, me and my brother and my mom, she became extremely depressed. And the way she handled her depression was through hoarding and through holding on to everything and through isolating herself. So I learned messages about men aren't to be trusted with your heart or your money, Cara. So don't be out there in these streets loving these people and letting them know how much money you make. So there was secrecy, there was paranoia, right? And then I was also taught that things are always too expensive because in one fell swoop, she lost a breadwinner. So she became the breadwinner. So everything was a complaint about this is so expensive. Everyone's trying to get your money. So I had like, wow, everyone's trying to get my money. I need to hold on to it. Or this is too expensive. So I never was able to actually get what I want. The
Yeah.
cost of something was always the value and the cost became synonymous instead of realizing that they're two very different things. So that's
Absolutely.
a key example. Thinking about to the examples that you had growing up. And step two is to assess them. Were the majority of your beliefs that you were taught positive, negative, and kind of get granular about the description? Were they depressing, fear inducing, uh, were they driven by religion that made you feel that wanting money was a bad thing, that God won't love you, God only loves the poor? Or was it driven by gender, like women are gold diggers if they ask for money, men are the ones that should be the ones making financial decisions? So getting clear about all of those things. And I think the third step is to think, if I continue to believe these beliefs around money, where would my finances be in 5 years?
Right.
Right? What will my finances look like in 5 years? Now, if you do not like the way that picture looks, what would be an affirming, thoughtful approach to rewriting some of those money messages? So in my case, when I grew up, one of the key messages I learned, like I said, was like, men aren't to be trusted with your heart or your money. So how could I rewrite that statement, a core belief that I had growing up, to be one that is affirming, one that is positive, and one that is practical that allows me to grow into it? And so I had to rewrite it and say, yes, not all men are meant to be trusted with your money. That makes sense.
Hmm.
But I trust myself to choose a partner with whom I can make financial decisions. And so it's not a pie in the sky, like, yes, I trust everyone and yes, everything is going to work out. No, no, no. You create a statement and a desired belief that you can grow into that actually takes apart any of those toxic or absolute statements, because the truth is that you don't know what you can be until you start believing it,
Right.
right? So if you start believing this thing, these things will then lead to actions and then lead to resources and people that will reinforce that new belief that you have. And so that's the final step, is to rinse and repeat the idea that this belief is true. So, what did I do? When I started to realize that my mother's messages for me may have been true to her, but not true for me,
Hmm.
because I was not my mother and my boyfriend at that time, soon to be husband, was not my father. So I was able to make that cut right there and say, no, mom, that might have been true for you. But I know for me, I am not you, and my boyfriend is not my father.
Right.
And so that means I have a new way to think about love, to think about money, and to think about partnership. And to reinforce that, I went to therapy, right? I got the
Okay.
tools and resources to get myself right, because there was still parts of me that was looking at him like this. What you mean? You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Yeah, because
And then
it's foreign to you.
where, yeah, where did these beliefs come from? Because I was thinking like a 40 something abandoned Antiguan woman with two kids, when I was a first generation American from New York with no kids and a lot of degrees. And so I had to make the distinction about, what do I keep from my past that was helpful? Because my mom, one thing about my mom was she was a hustler, right?
Hmm.
So I kept that positivity. You can make things happen. You have this agency to do things, Cara. You put your mind to it. and then you do it. But the other things I had to leave behind because they were keeping me from the life that I desired. So that's the final step, is to be able then to parse apart, what do you keep from the past, and then reinforce what do you let go of and replace with positive, thoughtful, sustainable ideas that you can continue to pour into and then put your resources behind. Had to pay for my therapist, had to pay for a food coach,
Yeah.
had to pay for retreats that helped me get clear about my emotions. I read books around personal finances to get my credit straight. I read books about personal finances to understand debt elimination. So all the things that I said that I wanted, and also I read books about relationships so I can be in a healthy one because I didn't have examples of it growing up.
Right.
So all that costs money.
Yeah. So you got
And
to
I
invest in
lost my
yourself.
values of wanting to be well, wanting to be in love, wanting to have a different mindset on those things.
Yeah. I think it's all about just seeing the reward of the investment and, start small. Because, see, this is the thing I think happens to people. Like, that's why I kind of like cringe when I see all like you get on Instagram, you see all these master classes and people want $5,000, $4,000, and this and that and this third, right? And then people are out there searching and hurting and wanting things. They want more for themselves and they take the plunge and they pay. And then they're left with a cliffhanger of, hey, well, sign up for my next class so I can teach you what I said I was going to teach you in the first one. So now they're burnt.
Mm,
Now that they're out of their $3,000 and now they're scared again. And now they're like, nope,
right,
I'm not going to do that. So I say, like you were saying, start small so you can
right,
start seeing small wins so you can start eliminating that fear, eliminating that trauma, and you can say like, oh, well, I did this and I did see some increase in my income, or I did see something change in my credit score or something. Start
right,
getting those small wins and they add up to the big wins, and now you start reprogramming yourself and you start feeling good about, when I
right,
do spend this money this way, this is what happens. I just can't go out there and just drop 3,000 on a scammer or any type of
right.
advertisement or whatever. Like, you just got to build up to it. And you got to take the
Exactly.
small steps. And I think a lot of us just plunge all the way in like, oh my God, this is the way out. Boom, take this 3,000, change my life. It don't work like that. And
No,
at the
and
end
I
of the
think
day, even if they did deliver some good information, you still got to do the work.
you can't replace it. Like there's no shortcut. I think that's the whole idea. If we can get
Yeah.
into the mindset of Instagram is not a real place, right? A lot of these people aren't real people. Anyone that's selling you transformation in a short period of time is
Yeah.
just probably trying to sell a product. Now there are people who I sell products, I sell things, but I will never promise you a transformation in a
Facts.
day, right?
Facts.
And I
Yeah.
think that's important for you to see if someone's saying that you don't have to do any work, you don't have to put in any skin of the game, you don't have to make any sacrifice, you don't have to be disciplined, then you're just looking, and that is more of a red flag for you to see what about that appeals to me. Is
Right.
it because I don't believe in myself that I can do hard things? That's the conversation.
Yeah. You don't believe in yourself. You're afraid to make those hard decisions or just take risk.
Yep.
And yeah, or you're lazy. Or you're lazy. You just want to fit into their portal, to their program, to their system, and let them do what they want with you, give you what they gonna give you, and take a lot more that they're undeserving of. That, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna take
Yeah.
more than what they're deserving of out of the pot that's created
Right.
for you to generate some
Right.
money. Trust and
Yep.
believe they're making more than you because
For
you didn't
sure.
do anything. There's no skin in the game. All you did was pay a fee and they put you in their system and now you're making some money. And if that's good enough for you, that's great for them because they're making more
Right.
than you. They're
Right.
raping you. You know what I'm saying? Lack of a better
Yeah.
term, but yeah. So, yeah. So you just got to do the work, take the small steps. And I know, man, and people from our community, a lot of us have been there and are there, scared right now, scared to invest. Start small though. You gotta start small because once you get burnt on a big investment, set you back 5 years. Because now you're
Right.
tiptoeing and you're scared to relinquish that money to move
Right.
yourself forward or to invest in yourself. We've been there. I've been there.
For sure.
Been there a couple
I've
times.
yeah, for sure. Exactly. For sure. And I think we realize that a lot of times if you that's why it's important, I think, too, to get referrals. And I know
Yeah.
testimonials can sometimes be purchased, but seeing people that you know who've gotten to the place that you've wanted to go can be a great resource for you to think about, who do I want to be a part of my team to get me to the next level? instead of
Yeah.
kind of being out there and vetted. And I think last thing is just that sometimes people love the idea of a celebrity or influencer backed program because it makes them feel like a celebrity or an influencer instead of
Right.
going to the regular bank to talk to the banker there and his like maybe his not so sexy tie, but he has like 40 years or she has 40 years of experience.
With
So
and the funny part about that is the flip side of that is the celebrity was paid to do that. They probably don't give a damn
right,
about what they're even selling. They probably don't even
right,
know about the product or the service.
right,
They're just getting a check.
right.
And then you're all invested because their faces are, come on,
Exactly.
man. It's crazy. Tell everybody where they can find the book, get the book.
Yes. Yeah, so you can go to my site, The Frugal Feminista, and get the book, or you can go on Amazon and you can get the book there. And there are going to be a couple of Black stores. I have to list them on the website that you can go to depending on the state that you're in and get it from there and support a local Black owned or woman owned business.
Okay, great. I will have all the links down below, clickable
Yeah.
links. They can go and get it and follow you. And then also your services. Talk about your services. I know you do speaking engagements and you're doing
Yes.
mentorship and all of that. All of that can be found on your website as well. How do people connect with you with that? And what does that even
So
look like?
okay, great. So we have a number of wonderful programs coming up. There's Black Friday coming up, and we're going to have a 90-minute live, what I call an abundance audit, which is a year in review kind of slow down. Let me look at my goals for the year. Let me see how I did with them so I can plan intentionally for next year. So if you get on my email list, I'll send you the link. You can get on the email list before Black Friday so you can get the 50% off the experience before that sale closes. And then in January of next year, we're starting a 2-day financial healing retreat called the 2-day Heal Your Relationship with Money retreat. And we
Okay.
go deep, like all day Saturday and most of Sunday talking about our relationship with money with key aspects of the from the book. And
Okay.
then later in February, we are launching our Debt-Free Society, which is a 12-week live cohort mentorship model masterclass where I'm there helping you eliminate debt. We have a 5-module self-study course. We have abundance ambassadors who are subject matter experts that come in and pour into you on other aspects besides money, but like around your body, self-love, nutrition, and sleep. While I focus all on the financial elements of let's budget, let's goal set, let's answer your questions, let's get out of debt to help you in 3 months get out of more debt than you've probably done in 3 years. So if you join my email list, which I'll leave you the link, you'll be privy to all of that information. So you can really transform literally your financial world in a container of people that support you, that understand you, and that are doing the same thing that you're doing.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
2025, y'all. We're coming up on 2025, and there's so much
Yeah.
opportunity out here. There's no reason why you should be in debt. I know we
Yeah.
all coming from it, trying to, climb up out of it, but there's no reason with all the tools and people like
Yeah.
Cara. Like, let's get it together. Let's get it right, man. There's so much opportunity. It's so much opportunity out here. Oh my God. With the reach
Yeah.
of the internet, like, look at us right now. Like, it's so
Yeah.
much opportunity.
Yeah.
So
Because I'm
much
in Ghana
opportunity.
and you are in Atlanta, and here we are.
And here we are. So much
Yeah.
opportunity. So if you're looking for clients, if your company's going to be client based, customer facing, right here, you don't have to go
Right.
meet anybody in person to give them a service, to provide a service. There's so much opportunity. Let's get right, y'all. Give me, and I'm pretty sure you touched on some, but
Mhm.
before we get up out of here, can you just list a few financial triggers that are leading to dysfunction? Just run them down so people can have them on the forefront of their brain. That's
Well, people can treat you like depending on the people that you are around. So people who are always complaining about not having enough can make you feel like you should hoard. People who are always spending, they make 15 and they spend 20 and they brag about it. They can maybe influence you to spend. Times of year can make you want to spend. This is Christmas time coming up. You got
yeah,
Black Friday. I mean, they already started promoting Black Friday, I think, in July. You know what I mean? In some ways. So
yeah,
looking at your advertising that time of year. Also, when you're bored, you may shop when you're sad and lonely, you may shop.
Mm-hmm.
At when you times of the night when you are just scrolling and doom scrolling and you see something, you may shop. So looking at, do you find yourself at lunchtime when you have free time, or at nighttime when you're feeling alone? Is that when you start piling up your Amazon or Walmart or whatever kind of
Right.
cart that you like, or Sephora? Because I know everyone has their thing. So I think those are a couple of triggers that you can begin to think about. Also, other things like the loss of a family member, anniversaries of sad times in your life can make you want to escape through the purchase of something to make you feel good. So those are a few of them that you may want to look out for in your life.
Oh, yeah, that is wonderful. Thank you for that. And I'm gonna
Yeah,
say I'm guilty of one of those the other night. I was up late scrolling and I bought some shoes that I know I'm not gonna wear. I look at you, I'm not gonna wear these damn things, but I'm resourceful. I know how to resell.
right.
And
Exactly.
I know how to get more money than what I paid for
Right.
them. So
Right.
the good
You
thing
are
is
right.
I'm resourceful. But yeah, it
Yes.
caught me, man. I saw them and I was like, you know what? This will look good with this. I could step outside of my box and wear
Right.
these with this and that. I get them
Right.
things. I'm like, I ain't gonna wear these damn things.
Exactly. Exactly. Same thing
Yeah.
happened to me too.
Yeah. 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 It happens. It happens. But you gotta be resourceful, y'all. Resell it or something. Be able to
Or
make
return
some
it.
money.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or return.
Yeah, return it. Yeah, I passed that window, so I can't. But you got to
Gotcha.
figure out how to service the debt. How about that? Figure it out.
It's,
Figure out how to service the debt. Resell.
yeah.
One last question for you. Self-analysis? What's one thing that you feel that you could be doing more of or better to get you to your goals or to get you to whatever you're trying to accomplish or going to
Um,
accomplish? Take that trying out of there. Going to accomplish.
I think I can get better at delegating. I'm at a stage in my business where I don't have to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I am aware of that, I have to build systems to have more trust that others will do it, that I'm not the only one that can do it very well. And so I already think I do trust people, but now I have to trust more people and so build systems that allow us to all thrive and work in our areas of genius.
I love that. And I think as a business owner, I think everybody goes through that hurdle, trying to get
Yeah.
over that wall of like relinquishing control of this and that. Like I hear that so much in my interviews when I ask this question. I think that everybody suffers from that because it's your baby. And you
Yeah.
know you've got a vision for it. You know where it's going and you know how it needs to be handled and cared for. And
Right.
everybody's not going to handle with care. So
Right.
you got to
And that's
vet the
why
right
you
people.
fire.
Huh?
I've been firing. I've been firing this year a lot. That's why you fire. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, that's what you have to
Yeah.
do as a business owner. So you have to trust that there's going to be good people, and then and trust that when they aren't, that you have the ability and the discernment to remove them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Hmm.
Kudos to you. I'm proud of
Thank
you.
you.
I like to tell everybody, man, I'm proud of you. Keep doing your thing. I'll be praying
Thank
for you. You have an advocate over here, so anytime I see you post on social media, whatever you got going on, I'll share
you.
it. I'll like it. That's what I do. If the algorithm allows me to see your stuff, so you know how
Got
that
it. Yes.
goes. But whatever. But I will
Mhm.
stay connected with you. I will be in Ghana, so I'll reach out to you beforehand.
Sounds
I don't
good.
know when, but I will. I got a big trip coming up next year, so then probably after that I'll start figuring it out because I do want
Yeah.
to come out
Yeah.
there and get with
You
the
gotta do it
culture.
when this time is right.
Yeah,
Yes, I would love it. I'll be
absolutely.
here. If I'm here, then we can meet. So,
Okay, cool, cool,
yeah,
cool. And what city are you in out there?
I'm in Accra. I'm
Are you
in the
okay?
capital.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So like I said, I've interviewed a lot of people from there, so that's what I'm familiar with, and that's where
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But listen, I really, really appreciate your time. I really appreciate all the gems that you dropped. Lord Jesus,
Mhm.
you dropped a lot. Love hearing about Ghana. I know we had
Yeah.
like half of the interview was about the conversation. I ain't gonna say interview. Conversation was about Ghana, but
Yeah.
it all made sense. Like you said, it all tied into your journey
Yeah.
and where you are
Yeah.
now and what you're promoting and servicing the community with. So I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Many prayers going out to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Really, really, I do. And I'm glad that we were able to finally get it together and get you on here. So
Yes.
yeah, man, time well spent. I appreciate you. Hey guys,
Yes.
I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You know where I'm at every Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, kicking it with someone cool like Cara Stevens. Tap in. All the links are below. Support this black woman. Support this woman. Support just independent business owners. Support all this. Support financial literacy.
Yes.
Be an advocate for yourself. Help
Yes.
yourself. The links are below. Until next
Mhm.
time, peace and love. We are out of here. We've kicked it. Let's go.